tonight the applicants for Uplands Planning Area C1 are going to make a presentation about a comp plan amendment and PDP amendment that they've submitted to us for review. We are really early in our process. Basically, we've done one cycle of review of their applications, and now we're inviting your comments in order to incorporate them into their project. So I'll hand it over to Kaylee and Marcus.
Thank you very much, Nathan. Good evening. I'm going to just speak. We're not going to use a microphone, so let us know if we get too quiet, okay? I know sometimes the heater's a little loud. So I'm Marcus. This is Kaylee. This is our team that is here. We have Bonnie and Eric Pearson is here right in the second row there. He's our engineer on this site. So we have a full team available to answer any questions that you have, and we're happy to answer those. So we go to the next slide and give some context. I just want to show here, we are all in Crown Point Academy tonight. Thanks very much to Crown Point, as always, for hosting us. They're such great neighborhood hosts to have the community dialogue. But just to orient everybody here, here's the school. This is the expansion of Crown Point Academy. On the north side of this area, they're going to be expanding their school, separate project, but going through that process. And in orange, we're really here tonight to talk about parcel C, C1, and that's parcel B and C of that, so subparcel B and C. We'll go a lot through that, but I just wanted to do it because we're right here so you can understand, looking at the site, what we're talking about. All the way up to 88th, this site right here in orange. The larger Uplands parcel, we'll give you an update on that as well. Before I get started, just so I can understand the room, I know we have a gentleman here from Shaw Heights. What other neighborhoods, maybe, or areas do you all live in so we can address them? Prospector? Prospector, perfect. So we have a number of neighbors here from Prospector's Point, right here in this area. So we'll try to address it, ask any questions you want, but we'll try to go through that. So this is the public notice. Again, thanks to Nathan and team. This is your process you go through on a rezoning or a comp plan amendment. We notified about 1,000, just under 1,000 people, 985, and that shows the notice area that we have and then the people that are on the Uplands website as well. Uplands update, let's go through this. This is kind of overall context, so if you're newer to the discussion, again, this shows you where we're at. We're here tonight at Crown Point. That's the expansion of Crown Point there in C1D. This is the overall site of Uplands, and it shows the neighborhoods that you're seeing here. You see the A1, A5, that's the parcel is A, and then the different neighborhoods as you go through it. If you see a site plan below it, that has already been approved, all right? That means the site plan is approved. So A1, A5, you're seeing those neighborhoods. That's what we're planning to build, right? And you're seeing a lot of infrastructure work that's going on right now. I just was driving out here a few minutes ago. This site, which is an affordable housing site by Maker, C1A, is under construction right now. They're putting in the street on 87th. And then you drive down here, and if you come down here, this site is actually fully under construction. There's actually foundations that are getting poured right now on parcel C2. So it just gives you an overall feel of that. Obviously parcel C, most of you here tonight live east of Federal in this neighborhood here. So we're really talking about that site. Just a couple other things to show. This blue here are the water improvements and upgrades, right, that are happening. Significant upgrades coming here that came into the new street on 87th. That's poured, it's just not open yet, right? It's almost ready to get its final surface here and all the way up. So there's water infrastructure coming into that as well. This neighborhood is going through the city review process. It's the next one to go to hearings, A3 on Lowell. And then these other neighborhoods that kind of show in purple, they're going through this process, the city review process. This one tonight, we're going to talk about a little different. We're actually doing a comprehensive plan. So we're honestly making a change, a little bit of a modification from our original plan, and we'll talk through that as well. Last thing, if I can just do one last thing, I apologize. The green, just to show that is all the parks and park corridors, sorry John, and the kind of the hatch or the view corridors that has been dedicated to the city, that is owned by the city. Those are city parklands. So all of you that live in Prospector's Point, that new park just to the north of you, that is dedicated to the city. The city will plan that park. It's not fully designed yet. That's their process, but there will be a park just to the north of your homes. Next slide. A couple other things, just this focus area that we're talking about tonight, again, showing that area just north of where we're sitting here tonight. Seeing the water improvements that are coming in on 87th up to 88th, right? Both of those roads are really almost in their final stages now. And then you can see this focus area, the storm drainage improvements that are happening down 88th as well. And then a detention pond is happening where that asterisk is under that site that's under construction right now. Next slide. So folks, just a little bit, again, kind of talking about just some general updates, trying to stay in this overall kind of focus area, right? But to really understand your neighborhood, I say that for most of you here live very close by. You can almost kind of see some of the things that are happening. It shows the different parcels, the acreage involved, the PLD that we're doing across the whole site, right? But it shows the parks that are getting built here. I do want to point out now you're seeing the work on 88th Avenue happening, right? So you're seeing that happening. What will happen, we have some better images later, is on 88th, we're actually building a turnaround and parking there. And that's basically like a trailhead. It will have a trailhead there, and that will allow us to have that so people can go to the park right to the north, to all the Highland Hills facilities, and really have that connection point, and also into the neighborhood. So you're seeing that infrastructure start to come in, but just good to see it in this view. Next slide. This is the infrastructure that is coming, that is being built right now. So a couple of things, again, I just wanted to show that turnaround so you can see it in scale, where that is, that trailhead. The red there on just the south of that is a 10-foot multi-use trail. So on the north side of 80, or I'm sorry, south side of 88, north of the park there will be a 10-foot multi-use trail, a new sidewalk that is being put in right now as we're going through that process. And then you can see this kind of burgundy is an off-site trail connection. So we're also providing a trail connection all the way down here as well, right? So we'll do that and the turnaround. In addition to that 10-foot trail, there's also a bike, kind of a striped bike lane there as well. So we're getting full infrastructure. Of course, 87th is coming in right now, but it really shows you then the improvements along Federal itself. On the east side of Federal there in yellow is an 8-foot sidewalk that is getting built, and then something that we all believe is absolutely integral for this whole neighborhood, for Crown Point, for the safety of everybody, is a full movement intersection there. So this will be coming in at 86th and Federal. You are actually starting to see significant improvements on the Federal corridor. We're now through the approval process, and those infrastructure improvements will start to be very noticeable in the next 6 months. Next slide. This shows again, just maybe the kind of the land view of this site. So again, as we look at 1B and 1C there, just kind of looking at that as it sits in those site plans. So immediately to the north here, you see Maker, an affordable housing project here. Then just a conceptual image of what the park would look like. This development here, which is St. Charles Town Company, Crown Point expansion, and then the remainder of the Uplands land is the site we're talking about tonight and the proposed changes that we're working on. So we can come back to this, any questions you have, but that just puts it there. Now we're going to transition. Kaylee's going to give us a little background on what we're pursuing, what the process is, and what we're asking for right now for the comp plan amendment.
Wonderful. Thank you, Marcus. Kaylee Gillespie with Northside. Thank you all for joining us this evening. As Marcus mentioned, we have 2 applications that we're going to talk through here this evening. The first being the comprehensive plan amendment to the 2040 comp plan, and the second application is called a preliminary development plan amendment to the approved Upland PDP. So we're going to start by walking through the comp plan first. We are focusing our attention on the C1 planning area of the Uplands community. This area is generally located where Marcus mentioned here in this pink color outlined in white. This is shown as commercial mixed use within the 2040 comp plan. It allows for multifamily, retail, commercial, and office as the primary uses, and residential density is permitted up to 36 dwelling units per acre, as long as a minimum commercial FAR, which is a floor area ratio of 0.1, is provided along with residential uses. While we understand the goals of the 2040 comp plan, we we have experienced the following challenges with the current development market. With residential development of this parcel, it requires us to include 43,780 square foot of commercial space, part of the mixed-use development. For comparison, the vacant grocer just to our south is roughly 50,000 square feet. Not only is this a sheer volume of commercial a deterrent, the location of the site limits the viable commercial leases. It is found through third-party analysis that vertically integrated use is far less desirable, and traffic patterns at this intersection were less than desirable. Thus, to date, the land remains vacant without either commercial or residential interests to meet the Westminster's 20-minute neighborhood goals.
I'll just point out this last bullet here for everybody to see. If both are required, commercial on the ground floor or retail, and then residential above it, what we've seen is we actually just think the ground stays vacant, right? So we don't believe that that moves forward. That's why we're going through the process. So that's kind of a key point of what we've been working through the last few years.
So we've made strong efforts to market the site in the current designation. The challenges are not just our opinions, but reflect what we've seen in our market efforts over the last few years. In particular, in spring of 2023, we marketed the site to over 5,100 developers and investors. This included mixed-use, retail, hospitality, senior housing, multifamily, and medical office developers. Of that group, a total of 6 multifamily developers showed initial interest, but all moved on due to the extensive commercial requirements tied to the comp plan designation. Outside of that effort, we did have one non-solicited gas provider who expressed interest. We've also enlisted assistance of the CBRE Capital Markets to help shed some light on the commercial viability of the site location. Their findings were generally not supportive. They classified the intersection at 88th and Federal as a B-/C intersection compared to a primary A classification like there is up at 104th and Federal. As mentioned earlier, the current retail appetite for small pads, ground floor leases versus a vertically integrated mixed use is more desired, and the general commercial appetite is limited and not aligned with Westminster's goals for this site. We're going to kind of just walk through a little bit of some vacancies of commercial that's within the city. So the existing commercial land around Uplands and within the city as a whole, there's multiple vacant commercial buildings that are adjacent to the blocks of Uplands. As we talked about earlier, just to our south is that 50,000 square foot vacant grocer. Over the whole of Westminster, there's estimated to be over 1.3 million square feet of vacant retail and office buildings. So based on that, this is the current 2040 comp plan, and this is what we will be proposing. And that brown color is what is called urban multifamily, and it removes the need for coupling with the commercial aspect. So it just allows for residential units, and it's going to reduce the amount of traffic, and it retains similar development standards for land use types of building heights and densities, while still activating federal and future bus rapid transit. This amendment also supports many of the goals that the city has outlined in their 2023 housing needs assessment, as well as the 2040 comp plan. Some of these are outlined here on the slide. The site is located within the Westminster Heights transition area, which suggests adding residential density to the east side of Federal. Goal ER3 lists several goals that together will aid in revitalizing this portion of the Federal corridor. And goal ER8 recognizes that markets and industries change and support adaptation to these needs. We also presented this idea to City Council through their concept review process, and originally had a commercial component for that. At that time, the same commercial conclusions we just reviewed were heard, and advised that residential was preferred to be limited to commercial interests where received. On the site are some quotes from that meeting here on the right-hand side.
I should be sure and just note, those are, of course, are completely non-binding comments, but the reason that Westminster went through this process of adding concept review is they wanted council, their staff, to buy in and suggest changes to site plans before people made the application. I think there was fair criticism that you get so far down the road and then council sees it. So they have a concept review now. We took this discussion and said, what's a better fit here? What's a better fit in the neighborhood with you all as neighbors? And these were the comments actually reflected what we were seeing in the market as well. Rather to see that housing there and decouple, not have required retail and then housing above it. So this is again reflecting those comments.
Next, we're just going to walk through the preliminary development plan amendment. So this is to align with that comp plan. So as you see here in the orange color, as mentioned, our intent is to keep the density the same with 300 units across C1B and C1C. So C1B allows for 60 units max, and C1C allows for 240 within that area, or a combination thereof across those two.
Yeah, go ahead.
Then the home type multifamily, so multifamily's always been allowed, and currently is allowed at 5 stories and 65 feet max. We're not changing that. That will remain exactly the same. And then the min-max commercial, that's where you see the change. So we're asking to remove that within our PDP.
So folks, we'll come back here, I think maybe just to summarize and we'll go to that. So I just want to reiterate for everybody, we are not changing the maximum units that are allowed across the site. This is reflective of kind of the market conditions, what we've seen in the market, what we've tried to uncover for the last number of years, really 3+ years. We think this neighborhood is a remarkable neighborhood. We think it's a full 15-minute neighborhood. We think the retail south of us is going to get much stronger because of what we're doing here, and we need to continue to have housing, right? So frankly, bringing in more market rates of multifamily, we think really works with the other two proposed affordable housing. And then again, with the bus rapid system that is coming in on federal, that has been approved in the federal corridor changes. So again, for all those reasons, we think this is the right approach. But as Nathan started the meeting, we want to hear from all of you. We'd love to hear your feedback, what we're doing. Effectively, all of this process that we are going through here, and Kaylee can help kind of walk through it, just shows this PDP and amendment process. We had this neighborhood meeting, as you see in the box there, December 2024. We still have so much more to go. The formal plan submittal for the PDP and comp plan, a third submittal if required. We're anticipating that we'll just get to Planning Commission maybe in late spring, and then we have to do all the site-specific development plans. We don't know who the builder is yet, who the developer is, what their site plan looks like. They will have to go through all of that process again when they plan that. So I know a lot of you at Prospect, you may have questions about what to look at, like at the ground level, how are the units facing, all of that. That will be determined once we go through the comprehensive plan and PDP process, or PDP amendment process with the city. So with all of that, we're really, as Nathan said, here to hear your comments or answer any questions that you may have. So we'll go to the next slide, which probably says question and answer. There we go. So that's what we have to say tonight. We'd love to hear any questions or comments that you have. Go right ahead. Yes, sir.
With the additional 400 multifamily units,
Sure.
where are they supposed to be parking?
Yeah, so it's a great question. If you didn't hear it on the recording, with the additional units, where will they be parking at, right? So just one thing I want to point out here. So existing PDP is 300 units. This is also proposed at 300 units. So we're not adding any additional units, right? That's what was there and doing that. What we are doing is taking away that retail on the ground floor. Retail actually leads to more parking, right? That use of that. What I would say about the 300 units on the site is we have to park it on site regardless, right? And we will meet the parking requirements. So as we work with the developer on the orange property there, the property in orange, they will internally park that site and provide the parking. So sir, we will work very hard to limit any overflow parking across Decatur, next to where you live, any of that thing. So we'll have to provide all parking on site. And you probably know, Kaylee, You may not know the exact ratio, but it's the same parking requirements that we have in other multifamily sites. We'll have to meet the same code for all of them. Any other questions or comments? And fire away, it's okay. Your opinions help as well, for sure.
Where would it define four-story buildings essentially?
Yeah, so the question again is, where will the 4-story or 5-story buildings be situated? I just want to be sure, Kaylee, this is correct, right? We are staying at the same height, right, on that. So we're staying at 5-story max or 65 feet across there. Again, sir, we don't know if that will be a 4-story product, a 3-story product, whatever that final product will be. Where they would be situated on the site, there are certainly requirements. Kayla, you could talk about some of those where the buildings are faced and setbacks from the street and so forth.
Yeah, so we have strict requirements that are outlined within our PDP of where buildings can be placed in setback along Federal, Decatur, our southbound and our northbound of the site. Those actual building layouts don't come forward to you until time of official development plan. So that's after all of this process. Then we come back, we submit them, and we'll have to have another neighborhood meeting with you to talk you through what that site plan actually looks like. We honestly have no idea what that plan looks like at this time.
Yeah, and just so we can be really transparent about that, we are here on behalf of Uplands. We're making this application. The ultimate builder of this will not be Uplands, right? We will have a partner that comes in, will design that site. What we had heard from the market is, we don't know how to site the site with retail on the ground floor. That's an enormous amount of retail. Now, without that requirement, if this gets approved, then we'd go through, we'll certainly have strong interest in this site.
And if you're curious about the setbacks, I'm more than happy to go through those with you street by street.
Well, setbacks from Federal to Decatur, to me, doesn't make any difference because I bought my unit for the view.
Yeah.
I'm at ground level, and that is directly across the street from me. And I was wondering if I'm going to be looking at the back side of the building. It's a 6 over the whole lot where I'm.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off at all. I think one thing, and the city does a great job of it, so when we get to that final design, is certainly not looking at the backside of a building, right? That we're embracing the street, that we're embracing Decatur, all of that. I understand, you are correct, that the approved plans right now would allow for a higher height project that would block that view. This is that same height. What we want to do is understand those neighborhood concerns, and the extent that we can, when we go through the design for that final building, work with everybody, right? There is no doubt that we're going to have 3, 4, whatever the stories are on this site. It'll be about what those corridors look like. The only thing I will say in the overall planning of this, since we've all been involved, I know this isn't your view, isn't north, I understand that very well, but that PLD, that parkland dedication, we thought was a really important part to add that, so there are those views, that open space connection and trails to the north. And then again, I certainly understand taking some of that view away to the west, but creating really viable and a great neighborhood on that side.
If the buildings are in the orange.
Sure.
Making their house all there.
I think that's the challenge, sir, is that even a 1-story retail building would take away that view, right? So development effectively, takes away that view. We understand it. We know that's been open land, right? Certainly not open space. So we have respect for that. I think it's just the process that this is what's allowed today, right? Is this. And so we're just making a change. It does lead to development. We do think this results in something happening there instead of sitting there, but it's going to happen over time, so we just want to do it the right way.
What time frame are you looking at?
Yeah, I mean, that timeline, we'll go through Planning Commission and City Council spring and maybe into, second quarter of 2025 to get that approval. Then select a developer, a partner to develop it. They will go through a process. I will estimate that's probably a year-long process, right, to get approvals on that. And then, sir, that's a multi-year construction process. So I think we're a number of years away from there being buildings there, but certainly I believe next year we'll have a very good idea of the design and what those buildings will be. Questions, comments, others? Happy to go through it. Nathan, if there's anything else, again, if we could just maybe, Kaylee, go to that process there at the end, just so people know. I didn't go through every one of those boxes because I just want to be sure. This is Planning Commission and City Council. We have to go to both. They're both public hearings. Neighbors should come to that. We'd encourage you to go through that. Then we go to site specific if that's approved. So it just shows how long this process is, and we're happy to stay in touch with anybody who'd like to follow it. Well, certainly you as neighbors will get the same notice to these hearings that you got for this meeting tonight. Okay? All right. I think I'm going to close up there. Thanks to the city and to Nathan for hosting us, to all of you for coming out. We'll stay around if you have any additional questions, but thanks very much for joining us. Have a great day.